part 2 of 9 fitness myths that need to die in 2025. Today, we're going to be talking about myth number 4, 5, and 6. So myth number 4, the more work you do in the gym, the better results you'll get. Number 5, the more water you drink, the better. And number 6, heavy training equals sloppy training, and light training equals easy training. All right, number 4, the more work you do in the gym, the better your results will be. I'll start by saying this is true to a point. It's true, but it's not true as a blanket statement, period, end of sentence, exclamation point. If you train more, you'll get better results. That's not always the case. So what is true is that to a point, you will get better results until you don't. So this is what this looks like. So we have a graph, and this is the amount of work that you're doing. If this is 0, and this is like a ton of work, whether that's sets or workouts per week or hours in the gym, it doesn't matter, right? It's all the same concept. Up here is the results that you get. Of course, we're trying to maximize results, or for our clientele, maybe not trying to maximize them, but trying to get the biggest bang for our buck, trying to be as efficient as possible with our workouts. So anyway, here's our little graph. L, don't worry, I'm not calling you a loser, but here's our graph here. So at 0 work, of course, you're going to get 0 results. As you start training, you are going to get results. You're going to go up, 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 up until you get to a certain point where your results will level off. And then if you keep doing more work, it's going to start going down. And you will eventually get to the place where you are back to getting no results. And anything on this side of the graph is not good because your results are now you're putting in more work, but your results are getting worse. Okay? It's better to be on this side of the graph because at least you're doing less work. The other thing that happens is that as you train, your fatigue goes up. There's even an argument to be made for the more that you train, fatigue gets higher the longer you're training with each subsequent set, each subsequent workout, etc. So what this means is if you are a pro athlete, which is not my population that I'm speaking to, but if you're a pro athlete, or even if you're just somebody who wants to maximize your muscle and strength, it's worth toying around with what's the upper section of this graph? How many sets per muscle group per week can I handle? How many workouts per week? How much time in the gym, etc. You can find that sweet spot. Train more and more and more. And then when you start to see your results actually slow down, back off a little bit. But that's not even who I typically talk to. I'm talking to the everyday man or woman who wants to be lean, strong, and healthy so they can do the things they love with the people they love. And the nice thing about this is that on this side of the graph, like your first set, your first workout per week, your first unit of time gets you the most progress. Your second gets you the next most. Third gets you the next. Fourth gets you the next. And so the more you train to a point, remember, till the midway point of the graph, you will get better results. But with each subsequent set, hour in the gym, workout per week, etc., your results slow down. So you're getting less bang for your buck, which means on the front end, those first 2 to 3 sets, those first 2 to 3 workouts per week are giving you the best results. And that's why I recommend to the everyday man or woman, spend your time over here. You're not trying to maximize anything. You're going to get really strong and very muscular training 2 to 3 days a week. No, you're not going to go in any bodybuilding competitions, but that's not the point. Okay? The point is to be lean, strong, and healthy so you can show up for the people around you the way that you want to show up for them. Okay? But that myth needs to die that if some is good, more is better. That's often not the case. That's myth number 4. Myth number 5, the more water you drink, the better. This one is, I would say this is an even more dangerous myth than the one we just went over about training. Of course, many people are walking around dehydrated. Some people don't even like water. I don't understand that, but I'm sure some of you watching this, we work with clients who are like that. I can't relate to that at all, but I know it's a thing. There are people who walk around and simply do not get enough fluids. Dehydration is a very common issue. Now, that being said, those people should drink some water. But just to make the blanket statement or how we glorify, oh, this person, they drink a gallon a day, they drink a gallon and a half a day, that might make sense for some. It could be it might not make sense, and it could be dangerous, potentially even lethal for others. And I'm not trying to scare anybody here. The numbers are very low, but people die every year. I think we got a little bit of my lunch still in my mustache. We're going to keep it rolling. Anyway, I know people die every year from being overhydrated. Because it sounds crazy, but if you drink, it's rare, but many more people than die end up hospitalized because of overhydration. So what's happening? It's something called hyponatremia. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Hyponatremia, which basically just means hypo means low. Natremia is salt, sodium. So your sodium levels get low. You see, your hydration status is not just about fluid intake. Obviously, it has a lot to do with fluid intake, but it's not just fluid intake. It's how the fluids interact with the electrolytes, namely sodium and potassium, though there are others. It's how it relates with those electrolytes in the body. Now, the body is fearfully and wonderfully made. God did a great job designing our body. So the body will do a great job regulating your water, your sodium and potassium. Your kidneys are largely responsible for that. A healthy body will make sure that you don't get too depleted of sodium and potassium. If you drink too much water, you're just going to flush it out, and the body's going to do a good job retaining those electrolytes. But under extreme conditions, like tons and tons and tons of water intake, or especially the most dangerous combos, tons and tons of water intake without consuming like salt and potassium, you'd want both. If you're sweating a lot in like a hot Alabama summer or wherever you are, if it's hot and humid, you're sweating a lot, sweating profusely, and then you go drink a lot of water, but you don't have food with it, you're not salting your food, you're doing electrolyte packets in it, that's a great way to end up hospitalized. So I'm not trying to scare you guys away from water. Water's super important, but it's important to recognize that your hydration is more than just water. It also matters about your electrolytes. So how do we know if we're drinking too much or not enough water? Well, there's two main ways. Again, the body is fearfully and wonderfully made. So if you just pay attention to the body's natural signs, you're probably, for the vast majority of people, that's all you need to do. Number one, if you're thirsty, drink. And if you're not thirsty, you probably don't need to drink. It really is simple as that. The body does a good job of letting you know when something is wrong. Number two, look at your urine color. That's right. You didn't know we're going to be talking about, as we call it in our house, your potty color. But it matters, okay? Here's the deal. We glorify crystal clear urine and going to the bathroom every 30 minutes. That is not a blessing. That's not a good thing. If your urine is a super dark yellow or anything darker than that, drink some water. You are super dehydrated. But as long as it's like a mild yellow color, maybe a little more yellow at times, a little bit more clear, that's great. If you're crystal clear and you're peeing all the time, now you're on the opposite end of the spectrum, okay? Pay attention to those two things. And the other thing is I would recommend you salt your food to taste. I think your body does a good job of knowing if something tastes too salty, you probably don't need all that salt. But if it tastes good, your body probably needs that salt. And I would go as far as to say that most people probably don't, this is controversial, y'all, but most people don't consume enough salt to be optimally hydrated. And staying hydrated, both water and electrolytes, namely sodium, but also potassium, will play into health. It will also play into your performance at the gym. So some water is definitely very good. No water is a horrible idea. Some water is very good. Maybe even lots of water on a hot, humid day with your electrolytes if you're sweating a lot, or at least salt your food pretty well. But like glorifying, just obsessively drinking water, not a blessing. Not a blessing, friends. All right, the last myth that needs to die is that heavy training is sloppy or dangerous training, and light training is easy training. Here's the deal. Regardless of whether you're using heavy loads, moderately heavy loads, or light loads, the goal is the same, to build muscle. And to build muscle, there's three things we need. We need to take those sets. We need to use good form, full range of motion, taken close to failure. If you're lifting very heavy and you're sacrificing form or range of motion to lift more weight, you're just risking injury. You're putting your ego out front rather than results. You're actually shortchanging yourself. You will get less progress that way. I'm all for lifting weights. You should lift heavier loads. You should lift heavier and heavier, as heavy as you can, but you need to do so with good form so you stay safe and the exercise is effective, with full range of motion to optimally, maximally stimulate the muscle, get the most out of that set, and you have to take it close to failure. But the two that people screw up with heavy lifting is sacrificing good form and range of motion for more load. Don't do that. So heavy lifting should not be sloppy or dangerous. It should be very, very safe. Now, light training should not be easy training, okay? You can train close to failure. You can maximally stimulate hypertrophy with a lightweight, a moderately heavyweight, or a very heavyweight, as long as it's with good form, full range of motion, taking close to failure. Studies have shown time and time again that as long as your reps fall within the 5 to 30 rep range, you're going to be able to maximally stimulate muscle with that set, as long as it meets those three requirements: good form, full range of motion, taking close to failure. The problem with light training is that many people, they quit their sets early due to boredom or due to the muscles burning rather than actually hitting failure. So I had a word of warning for training heavy. Here's my word of warning for training light. I often use higher rep sets in my programs. I think it's great. It's a great change of pace. I think it's good to just hit the body from a variety of rep ranges, mix up the stimulus a little bit. But with the lighter weights, it's important that you take it all the way to failure. Otherwise, you're seriously shortchanging yourself on results, even more so than doing a heavy weight, but not all the way to failure. I don't have time to get into the science on that right now, but it is especially important. All your sets should be taken close to failure, but especially the lighter loads. So make sure you are going to the place not where it hurts, not where you're bored, but to the place where you're getting close to failure. But no, heavy training should not be sloppy or dangerous. Light weight should not be easy. All right, and so that wraps up the myths that need to die. It's only true to a point, but it's not true as a blanket statement that the more work you do in the gym, the better results you'll get. Also, same kind of deal. Some is good, but more isn't necessarily better. With hydration, the more you drink, the better. Not necessarily true all the time. And then finally, your heavy lifting should not be sloppy. It should not be dangerous. It should be very safe, very controlled. All right, and your light training should be hard training. You should be training very hard, even with your light sets. And that wraps up the 3 fitness myths for this week, part 2.